So perfect. Yeah, thank you everybody for joining us today at the Gas Industry Award webinar organised by IGEM and the EUA. Today's webinar will focus on the Young Persons Achievement Award, with thanks to the category sponsor, Wales and West Utilities. The two winners of the 2021 award are Gulraj Chatha and Chris Stamp. This will be an informal chat with the winners to discuss their careers, influences and projects they've recently been working on. And for anybody participating live, feel free to post your questions in the chat and I'll try and keep on top of them and chuck them in as and when. You'll notice we've only got Christopher here with me today, and that's because Raj is unfortunately, unforeseen circumstances, not able to join us. Quick introductions for myself. My name's George Brookfield. I work with Cadent Gas, and I'm the Young Persons Network Chair for this year. So that's why I'm hosting today's event. Quick piece of housekeeping. The audience, if you wouldn't mind keeping your videos and microphones off throughout the event and kind of really taking advantage of that chat function. The chat function, I believe, is top of your screen, top right. You'll be able to find the chat function there. And there will be a recording of this session made available afterwards. So quickly about the category before we get into some questions. The Young Persons Achievement Award recognises the efforts of a young professional at their early stages of their career who has made a positive contribution to the success of their organisation. The judges were looking for individuals who made a positive contribution to their organisation and is an advocate of continuous improvement. Resourceful individuals who embrace the use of new technology, materials and ways of working in order to maximise efficiency and reduce costs. Individuals who are committed to their continuing professional development, always striving for excellence and exceeding exceptionally in terms of work that they have completed on behalf of their employer. Finally, evidence that the employee's efforts have improved business performance. So introduce the winners. I'll start with Raj, he's not here. Gulraj Chatha is an engineering manager at Cadent Gas Limited. The judges recognised Raj for his drive, dedication and focus, which has transformed the efficiency and effectiveness of the company's processes. He has a Master's of Engineering in Mechanical Engineering, and his career in engineering has seen him work for organisations such as BP, Severn Trent, Capita Property and Infrastructure Limited, and Jacobs Engineering. And Christopher, who's able to be with me today, is a Senior Pipeline Inspector for R&L Project Services. His nomination stood out to the judges for how it acknowledged him for his own skill and work ethic. He is regarded as being a binding force in the team with a great character. His achievements are worthy of huge recognition, particularly as he was diagnosed with severely dyslexic from a young age. However, this has never been seen as an obstacle. Christopher gained a BEng Honours in Engineering Geology and Geotechnics in 2014 from the University of Portsmouth. And after leaving university, Christopher gained BGAS CSWIP qualifications in welding, coating and ultrasonic inspection. In 2016, following travelling, he joined the family business as a partner in R&L Project Services LLP, where he embarked on a programme of training and mentoring, resulting in Chris becoming one of the youngest BGAS CSWIP senior pipeline inspectors. Chris also gained many competent personal qualifications under safe control and operations, including hot works and confined spaces. So there's your little introduction, Chris, the formality of today's session. I suppose for the benefit of myself and everybody in attendance, do you want to just go over your career? It kind of gives a snapshot of what you've been able to achieve so far.
So I'd say my career in the gas starts actually quite early. It started in my university days. So what basically happened was because of my dyslexia and stuff like that, when I was at university, it wasn't really possible for me to have like another job as well. So, you know, a lot of my friends had like bar jobs and like worked in shops and stuff like that, as well as studying to have enough money, obviously, to continue on. Whereas I would struggle to do that a bit, like managing my time and stuff like that. Everything just takes me that little bit longer. So my dad sort of saw a gap in the market of the fact that during the 6-week holidays and all of the holidays, a lot of the welding inspectors and things like, and all of the all the inspectors and pipeline inspectors would go on holiday with their families, so they'd always need cover. So I actually got my qualifications before I went to university, like literally like just before. Then I went to university, and then during all of the holidays, I would then work as an inspector for various companies around London, really, just to sort of build that up. And then after I finished my degree, I decided I still enjoyed working in the space, so I joined a company called K&S Pipe Contractors, who they're sort of welding specialists. They do a lot of high-rise buildings, so a lot of like the gas risers and stuff like that. So I was the inspector for a lot of the welded steel gas risers, and also they did some larger diameter projects like a medium pressure replacement during London, like all the large diameter stuff going into governors and all that sort of thing. Then I went travelling for a year, and then when I came back from travelling, like said, I ended up working for the company me, my dad and my brother and my mum own. And since then, really, I've done a couple of notable projects, which is the Chelsea to Battersea River crossing, which was a 30-metre deep shaft from the Chelsea Hospital grounds where the flower show is, goes across the river and then comes back up in Battersea Park. So did a steel pipeline through there, which was also part of the other project that I was majorly working on, which is LMPS, which is London Medium Pressure Replacement, which is basically a £1 billion project just to remediate all of the large diameter medium pressure network in London, so it could handle the new scope of the amount of building work and stuff that's in there, the infrastructure that we're putting in for it. So it's a lot of remediation. There's some new lay, but there's also some abandonment, so that all the key risk points across London in the central area, like Knightsbridge, things like that, are all then covered. So then you've got rid of all of that risk for the next projects going forward. And that's where and like I said, I've worked on some PRSs and some bits in between, but they're my sort of more notable ones. And then we're up to today.
No, fantastic. Do you think there's been then, seems like you've quite an exciting lead to where you are and working on some great projects. What skills do you feel like you've kind of been able to snowball and develop and get to utilize what you utilize now? What are those skills? What did they look like early days and what do they look like now?
I think that you're always constantly learning, aren't you, on jobs and stuff like that. Definitely having some work with a lot of like older like Cadent engineers and stuff, and getting as much as I can from them. But I'd say probably things that have improved, whereas like obviously the facts side of things, you know, inspection wise, it's like it either is or it isn't, you know, it's very black and white. It's like you're either doing that or you're not doing that. But I think like some of the person skills, when you raise that problem, seeing the problems beforehand, you know, when I was working for LMPS, it was much more, it was much more of like a role in the team, if you know what I mean. So I'd be there for the planning, so it wouldn't be like turn up on site, oh there's a problem. It'd be like, where do you think the pinch points are, and I could be like, well, how are you going to get around there and still, how are you going to do that bit, so on and so forth. Like where you're going to get these things from. Was doing quite a lot of the actual materials ordering as well, because it's not as simple as you know, through, I'm sure, like for anyone who works through Cadent, it's not as simple as just, you know, oh okay, that's a 90-degree long radius bend or something, I'll have that and we'll just put it in there. It's, you know, where's the backlog, how can you tell me where that's been made, and all that sort of thing as well. So I think just constantly being able to get more involved by just being more personable, asking the questions and stuff like that. So I think that's one skill that's definitely grown in myself. I've seen grow in myself over the 10 years or so that I've worked in the gas industry.
No, great. There's a couple of points I want to take away from that and build on. First, you mentioned personal skills, but I'll come back to that. You kind of allude to the challenges involved with, you know, working out problem solving on you. Is there any notable challenges you've had then in your career so far that really feel you've been able to put yourself into and crack?
I'd say the Chelsea tunnel in general was a very notable project. Only it was for the fact of knowing how, trying to explain to people there are certain things that go with having these tunnels and stuff. Like you need to have CP on it. You need to have the longevity. You need to have all of the paperwork, the G17 stuff, and that. And funnily enough, when we came into that project, we probably came in. We were on the side of the client, which at the time was Trio. We were employed by Trio on this site, and so we stepped on, and it was the first time I'd say I've stepped onto a site where, they've got their own inspector, they've got their own welders, and you're asking them the questions. And definitely, I was a little bit younger then as well, and I think at that point, when like a young guy is asking people and stuff like that, it does. I say that was definitely a challenge, but then knowing after a while, they understand. It's just your job. It's just what you're there to do. So they understand, and if they're doing it correctly, they've got nothing. They've got no problems with it. But I'd say in terms of like actual engineering wise, it's pretty much everything in London, I'd say, because as soon as you dig into the ground, it's having that plan that you've got in your head of, okay, it tells me I'm going to go straight across this junction, and then as soon as you dig, there's cables in the way, there's old services, there's everything, and you've got to just duck, dive, dip, and everything through all of this. And then we've had a few challenges where in our P1 specification that we weld to, a minimum pup length, which is a small bit of pipe that you add on to anything really, like a bend or anything like that. It's called a pup.
Yeah.
And in P1 it says it has to be 1 times the diameter. Well, we were working with 750 steel, so that's quite a large piece of pipe for these small little areas we have to move around in. And I remember I had to give some technical queries. I had to fill out full technical queries about, in other specifications it says that can go down to this, can we go down to this, as long as we're using the same like parameters, phased array and stuff like that, and X-ray or what phased array or X-ray, whatever you need to do, to allow you to go around smaller places where we were having, it was physically impossible to do it within the specification. So to do that's quite interesting. And that was something first time I'd done an LMPS as well, because I was the sort of person to do all the quality control on there. So yeah, that was an interesting one. Definitely to have some conversations with some of the higher inspectors in Cadent and stuff like that to figure that one out. That was interesting.
Yeah, I bet. And I I suppose to tease out some lessons learned for the kind of younger engineers in our industry that we both are, and for the kind of guys that are next after us. How do you manage the relationship with older senior engineers when you're coming in as the new guy, the young guy on site, and you're there to help them? But what are some of the things going through your mind at that point, and how have you learned to be better at that aspect?
I'd say to be better at that aspect is being able to physically show them that you're correct is always one, and always try and work a problem out with them, if you know what I mean. Like not try and be, look, I'm right, here's the bit of paper for it, but be almost, try and work together to work the problem out that you have. Always be transparent with what you think is the right answer, and it's never conflict. That's never the right way. It's never right to question them and say, well, this is my job, that's your job, just stay out of it, sort of thing. I think working with them is, and I've found I've got engineers now that will call me up for anything to do with steel, because they are much more plastic dominant, where they're using lots and lots of like PE in the ground and stuff like that. But as soon as they come to pinch points of steel and stuff, they'll ring me up and ask me, what specification should I be using? What type of steel should I be using? Can you come down and have a look? Tell me what materials I need and stuff like that. So I think a lot of it's just working with them, making sure you'll let them know what the problem is early on. So, and potentially don't wait until you're like in a big meeting or something like that. It's worth having that conversation on site with them at the point. So make sure one thing I learned definitely through the career is just be on site, just be there when they're there, just it's soaking in some knowledge, put in your little bits where you can, and I think then eventually, not eventually, it came around fairly quickly, but then they'll start to trust your decisions as well. If some of the things that you end up saying, oh, why don't we try this, ends up working and ends up being the thing that they go with. So I think it's just a relationship, building that relationship with them. And you've got to remember they've got a lot of knowledge as well. So they might be coming from a completely different aspect. So it's understanding what they're trying to say as well, because they might still be thinking something different in terms of, they might still be thinking, oh, I want to do this in plastic rather than do it in steel. You know what I mean? So it actually, you know, making sure that you get what they say and they're understanding what you're saying, and just a lot of communication really, I think is the way, and just constantly be there, turning up and just helping out where you can. I think that's always works really well for myself, and just try and soak up some of that knowledge that they've got as well.
Yeah, no, good stuff. I suppose, and that reminds me of what you answered in the first part, where you're talking about interpersonal skills and the kind of some of those challenges. What have you done? Have you done any particular training, any particular exercises where, you know, coming from a degree background that's kind of helped that interpersonal side, or have you just been really fortunate and, you know, got on with people? What's your secret with that?
I think I'm just lucky with that sort of thing. To be honest with you, I'm a fairly personable person. I can talk to anyone really. I've always been brought up that, you know, we're all the same. There's no difference between, you know, you're an older engineer, younger engineer, whatever. It's just, you're all there for the common good, aren't you? You're there to get this project over the line, and that is the main thing of anything. I think when you work with other engineers who are also of that same mindset, they don't mind who is coming up with the ideas, as long as it just gets over the line, you know. And I think that's what's mainly thing. But yeah, like I say, I think I've just been fairly lucky with being a personable person. I don't think it's any particular skills or anything like that. But
No, fair enough. What else might there be then for kind of other hints and tips for younger engineers coming in, or trying to even break into the gas industry specifically? You know, let's narrow it down from just engineering. What type of skills would you think that they should be bringing with them, and what do we need to be helping them with to get into successful positions and roles?
I'd say pretty much everything, to be honest with you. Like, as far as if I had some advice for younger engineers coming in, I would say every qualification you're offered, get. It doesn't matter what it is. Help, like any sort of site manager. Like, even if you never want to be a site manager, it's a great look into it. If you never want to be, you know, health and safety, first aid, fire marshal, just get everything that you can. You can never stop learning with that sort of thing. And it actually bridges quite nicely over to the older engineers as well. I think just listen to them. They've seen everything. They've done everything. You know, they've done all of the things that you want to be doing, and they've probably done them like 1,000 times over. They're like routine things for them. So I think just trying to get in with them and just try and get some of their knowledge. And every engineer that I've met so far has wanted to share knowledge. You know, there hasn't been one that's been like, he's been trying to teach people, like trying to, you know, are happy to see that there are younger people in the industry and want them to succeed. I haven't seen anyone so far that's been like tried to, you know, not tell me something or not want me to learn something because it's that. But I think there is a big gap, and it's one of the reasons that my dad ended up setting up a company, is that there is just lack of training in the gas industry for, you know, the SEO side of things and stuff like that. Like, if I'd gone into doing Cadent, I'd potentially have like 1 or 2. Now I've got like 4 or 5 or something, because my dad spends a big budget, I think over 15,000 a year on me and my brother's training. You know, he really wants us to, you know, get to the level that you can. And a lot of companies aren't necessarily, they get you into one role and then they just beat you to death with it a little bit. But I think every qualification you can get, just always get them, and always don't dismiss something someone's saying straight away if you think it's wrong. Just they might have a point at the end of it, you know, because like I say, I know, like, going back a little bit, like when I first came into it, it was so like the spec is the spec, and I wouldn't want to deviate from it at all. Whereas now it's okay. I've got the knowledge to say, okay, I can write a technical query. You know, there are exceptions where engineeringly that doesn't make any sense, or it physically can't be done. Whereas when in my younger days, if I come to that, I'll just pass that up the chain or whatever. Maybe sometimes you've got to think about it and think, well, is there a way around this? And if I can outline it, and then someone else says, you know, yeah, that's a great idea. Some of the senior engineers in Cadent or whatever, I think that can really help you as well. We can help your confidence, because I did for myself.
Yeah. No, yeah, it sounds spot on. I mean, you talked a little bit as well then about like continuously learning, and I mean, I feel like you've already answered what was going to be my next question, but if you've got anything to add, feel free. Is around, you know, we're encouraged as young engineers to do continued professional development, and you mentioned about being out on site, getting the information from the guys, getting your qualifications up. So I feel like you probably ticked everything I would have thought of to do for CPD. But is there anything else that perhaps you know, in your day-to-day, you know, job in your life, how are you incorporating that in? Or, you know, is it very definite, I'm on site today, or what's going on? How are you factoring that in?
Well, it obviously with COVID-19, my day-to-day did change quite considerably, working for LMPS, because it came from, you know, anyone could be anywhere. If I wasn't on site, I was going to the offices. I was seeing the engineers every day, and if not, oh, where are you going? I'll pop along with you, watch what's going on, all of that. To when COVID-19 struck, it was like, if you don't have to go, then you don't go. You know, it very much like, so site was only when I was told that I had to go, could I go onto site, and trying to do my job remotely. It's not impossible. It's not something. It's not like it wasn't something I could do. A lot of it's just, you know, looking through paperwork, making sure everything's in place and stuff like that. So it's not something you can't do. But I do think for the personal development, I'd say I learned less in that aspect of in that aspect. I think just being on site is the way to learn, and then you look at the engineering, you can physically see. I mean, I'm a very visual learner myself. Like, I can read a textbook back to front, remember none of it. And then when it comes up on site and someone says, oh yeah, that's there, and then I go and look at it, then I'll remember it, because I'll think, oh, that time when we were there, that's why I know that now. So I'm a very visual learner, so that's why I like being on site. I like, you know, getting in there and seeing what's going on, sort of thing. So yeah, I'd say that's probably, for the personal development side of things, that's where it'd be. And maybe the other thing I'd say for personal development is, like I say, so we do cathodic protection as well, and I got that qualification about 7 or 8 years ago, and I never thought that I would really use it. It was just more for, you know, development. It was another course that came up. The dad was like, yeah, just go on in case something does come up for it. And then the latter half of last year, it's pretty much all we were doing. You know, so don't dismiss something just because you don't do it every day. Like right now, I think there's always more. You never know what's going to come up, especially in the gas industry. You know, something changes. I mean, you can have, you know, specifications change. They renew them all the time. Different things come out with plastic, and different things come out with new techniques and all that sort of stuff. So if you start narrowing yourself down to a specific technique, and then that technique's not there anymore, then that's the end of it, you know, for yourself. So I think definitely broad based as much as you can is the way to go. And I think that's the way that we've gone with it. I mean, I've still got a long way to go. I've got loads to learn. Yeah, I'm much more on the inspecting side now. I want to go get my NRO, RO, and start doing all the operations as well, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, I'm noting things down for myself here as well, because I think there's some definitely good points that people can take away from this.
Yeah, well, dad's drummed it into me from a very young age. Qualifications are the way. What
kind of linking this back into then our institution, how have you learnt on the IGEM at all, or do you think that we could be doing things differently? You know, what's IGEM's role in your opinion of where the kind of it supports young engineers and it's helping with professional development, tying that into everything you said basically?
To be honest with you, I haven't had too many dealings with IGEM. I wouldn't say like specifically. I mean, I always get the magazine. I always read the magazine. I find them really interesting and stuff like that. but I wouldn't know where. Like you said about the young persons as well. Like I didn't know about that, but I'd be very interested in it now. You know, to me, I think IGEM would be great and is great at connecting you with people who are similar to you and could be having similar issues to yourself in the industry. Like I say, like young people. I'm lucky that my brother's also young, so I've always got someone else to lean on, someone to do that back and forth with. But I know there's a lot of people that come into the industry out of uni and stuff. They don't know people. They don't have, like, obviously I'm really lucky because I've got my brother and my dad that I can always bounce ideas off and stuff like that. And now I've met people who I can do the same thing with. Whereas I think if you came in, it would be a bit daunting if you came in like with no prior background to that, just engineering straight out of uni into where we are. So I think, like I said, I think I've been lucky, but I think IGEM could be brilliant as a getting people, definitely younger people together who can then bounce ideas off of each other, because I think that's what you need in this industry, because it always brings up challenges that, you know, everything's different.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And as we were talking about before the session, I think the more people we can drive into the YPN, just for that fact that you mentioned, the collaboration, the kind of getting to meet people who are like-minded. Yeah, for me, I agree completely. That's what we should be doing, and we need to be doing it more.
They're probably the people that you're going to be working with for the next 30 odd years as well, aren't they? You know, so you might as well get to know them pretty well, because you're going to be seeing a lot of them over the course. And yeah, I think it would be, and I think IGEM could probably do more to market themselves. I would say I think they do undermarket themselves quite a bit. You know, I know about the emails and stuff like that, but you know, more sort of like you've always got the obviously the magazine that people read, but more about the events and stuff in there. What happened in that event? How did it go? You know, getting to know some of the people, because you're the chair, aren't you, yourself, of the person? So, you know, getting to know more about yourself and that as well would be interesting to obviously ask the younger people.
Yeah, no, definitely good input. And yeah, I'd encourage yourself and anybody who's watching this now or in the future to definitely get more involved with the YPN, because yeah, I think the more of us that there is, more valuable it becomes for those part of it. So
how many people are there, do you know, as part of the
in the section? I wouldn't know, because in theory it's everybody under the age of 36 who's in IGEM. You're just automatically part of our section. In our kind of active committee, planning events and arranging socials when that was a thing, I think we've got there's at least 12 who definitely come along to everything, and then I think we've got a few on top of that.
Because it is, I mean, that must have been a challenge for yourselves as well, with COVID hitting and stuff like that, trying to now do it. I mean, I think people are always more likely to go to an event than they are to go to webinars all the time and stuff as well, aren't they? I think it is.
Yeah, that's good. A good point. We did have quite a load of success for events on, you know, I think when we first went into lockdown, it was like, oh crikey, we can utilize webinars and Teams and everything. The uptake was fantastic. And then you're dead right, because now we're kind of getting to the tail end of it. Another webinar, another event. We need to get back out. We need to get back outside and seeing people. That's where I mentioned the Hydrogen Homes visit that we've got coming up.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's just one of many things that we'll be able to deliver this year when permitted.
Yeah, when permitted. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In that, you mentioned working together for the next 30 years, which did fantastically jump to my next question, which is, what's next? Where are you going? What's the plan? What's the roadmap ahead? And how does that incorporate into what how are you planning it in a kind of skill set way to help others think of how they should be planning it?
So the skill set that we're planning, we want to be able to be, you know, we want you to think of us in the one-stop shop effectively for, you know, do you need someone to do your well inspection? Yes, okay, so we can do that. Do you need someone to be the competent person on your site for your permits? Yep, we can do that as well. And do you want someone to be the competent person for the NRO, whatever operation that you're doing at this particular time? And we want to do that as well. But that's, I mean, for example, like my dad's got NRO all the way up to IP, so he's got all the different sections of NRO and all the hot works for that as well. And so trying to we're trying to match his qualification because it's a very unique, niched qualification. But if you've got all of them things, it allows you to. I don't think you'll ever be out of work, you know. So, but going forward, they're not easy things to attain either. They each pressure increase comes with different standards. Well, different standards, but different risks involved and different elements and stuff like that. Then you need to get your mentor. You need to be mentored 3 times. Then you have to have an audited RO or NRO as well to get through to that. And the same with permits. So it's a constant. And then you have to show that you're always doing them as you roll forward. So at the moment, I'd say for the next 2 or 3 years, the eyes are pretty fixated on the RO and NRO route of things, like just trying to get them done. And I'm sure when we get them, we'll get a bee in our bonnet and want to go get something else as well. But I think that's just us as humans. So the way we just like to just keep progressing. It's just how we've always been, what we always want to do. But yeah, I think RO and NRO seems to be the one that it seems to be where we're seeing the gaps. You know, you're seeing that they're missing out. They're missing people to do. There's only a couple of engineers, for example, in LMPS, and all of them guys are 50 and above. I think one of them's late 60s. So you think to yourself, you know what? As soon as they decide to retire, then who's next, really? And I don't see anyone following them or shadowing them or anything like that. Or Cadent looking at that, thinking, "Oh, we'll latch some people onto them." So we're going to be them people. They're going to be sick of us by the end of it.
No, good plan. Yeah, I like it. As you say, I think that's quite common with our generation. You have a small, target you want to hit, not a small target. It's a short-term target, and then after that, it's what next? Be in the bonnet. Great analogy for it, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose. I mean, I didn't say at the start. I should have done. Congratulations for winning this
Thank you.
Young Person's Award, sponsored by Wales and West. It must be a pretty good milestone in your career. How did you feel when you were awarded it?
Very surprised, actually. I don't know why. You never think these things are going to come to you, do you? I don't. I think you always think someone's achievement's more notable or something, like that. I know that me and brother have done well in getting the qualifications at the age that we've done. But I never actually thought that I'd end up with the award, which is, it was very surprising. So I was definitely a bit nervous when it came over to me. I was like, oh, what am I going to say now? So I just sort of thanked the people I could. But yeah, I mean, like I say, it wasn't one I was specifically aiming for, but I'm over the moon with it. Yeah, I couldn't believe it, really. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. Oh, well, as I say, congrats. I think it shows, and from what you've been saying today, just a bit of graft, a bit of trying hard and working hard at the things you want in, and a bit of encouragement from those around you. I mean, it sounds like you're really fortunate with your family helping you and being that kind of community family drive as well.
Yeah.
Sounds well deserved. Is there any other kind of thoughts, anecdotes, stories that you can attribute the success to that can perhaps be interpreted as hints and tips?
Mm-hmm. Like I say, I know I keep banging on about it, but I think just being relentlessly there is the main thing. You learn things. Well, I definitely learn things better from people. The way things are, how industries work, because you can learn from a textbook, and I agree that everyone should read the specifications and know them as well. But at the same time, you've got to be out there. You've got to be doing it. You've got to be seeing it. So when you do go on sites and things like that, it's you're not looking silly if you're saying something. It's like it's actually a valid point. And yeah.
Yeah. No, good comments. Well, Chris, to be honest, you've answered all my questions that I've thought of. I think it sounds like you're ticking all the boxes, and this award is kind of very well deserved. Is there any other points, is there any questions, first of all, from anybody who's attending today that you want to put in the comments box? And Chris, while we wait for that, is there any other final kind of thoughts or comments?
No, I just wanted to thank IGEM themselves. Like I say, completely blown away that I won the award. Never really thought, sort of just entered it more like on the whim of thinking, there's got to be other people that are more notable. So if you're out there as well thinking that, if you're a young person, you know, be proud of what you've done in the industry. Even you know, even if you just come into this industry, you're automatically part of this team, this young person's team. So, you know, start using that as a function. I know I definitely will. And yeah, just be part, be present, and enjoy working while you can, because we're going to do it for a long time. So just enjoy it.
Yeah, no, definitely some good final thoughts there. Just have one last check of the comments box. There's nothing there, so yeah, I'll close it here. So I'd just like to thank yourself, Chris, for joining me today, and Raj, as I said, unfortunately wasn't able to attend, but it would have been interesting getting him on and get another opinion. But you've done a sterling job at giving us some hints and tips, and I hope some of the young engineers who are able to watch this are able to take something away from today's session, because there's one or two really good points that you made there that I think are really fantastic. So yeah, thank you for that today, and of course thank you to Wales and West Utilities for sponsoring this event. And final thanks to IGEM, as you said, and the EUA teams for the promotion and delivery of today's webinar, and of course for all the attendees that are able to join us today. So to find out more about the forthcoming Gas Industry Award webinars, please just visit our website, igem.org.uk. And yeah, lastly from me, thank you very much. Thanks for your time, and yeah, see you all soon.
Thank you as well.
Cheers, Chris. See ya.